here we go. Oh, 1 second, guys. Did anyone else join, or is it just it's just us, isn't it? Okay, cool. You guys ready for
Yeah,
animation?
just eating dinner.
Eating dinner. Got you. Got you. Should I? Do you think I should wait a little bit longer? I don't want to. Like, I would understand. Um. Yeah, I'll wait a little longer. Do like 5:15 or something.
That gives me enough time to heat up rice. Let's go.
Might even bake some chicken.
That's already cooking.
Oh, nice, nice. Nice.
Yes.
Very nice. I had plans to put some chicken in the oven earlier today, and then the thing is, I was already a little bit behind in like setting up the PowerPoints and whatnot. Like the Unreal Engine lecture is going to be there's a structure for it, but the structure doesn't live on a PowerPoint as much as with these other two. So I'm going to be doing my best to instead show things visually with demonstrations, but I'm like already in the middle of a PowerPoint. I'll be pausing and jumping into like Blender trying to explain something. And like, I already have this urge to leave the PowerPoint and show you firsthand what I'm trying to explain. And I think that'll be what I'll end up doing anyways, so it won't make that big of a difference. All right. I'm going to turn off my camera here, put it on the recording. Bada beam, bada boom. All right, cool. And I'll get Blender closed for now. Oh, let me make sure that make sure everything's uploaded. I think it is. Let's do, where is it? Technical artist, animating. Good, that's up. Mysterious protagonist.blend. I think it should actually be humanoid.blend. Let's double check that. Is this the final version? In like 2 seconds, I'm gonna upload the ooh. Okay. 1 second, you guys. I'm sorry. Cleaning up another thing or two. That's fine. This is good. This is good. Cook the rice. I'll clean this up. Here, this. Here, transform. Object mode. In front. Save. Edit. Okay. X. Ooh. Man, Blender has been weird lately. It overwrites. Okay. Sorry, you guys. Like 2 more seconds here. Humanoid.blend. I am so sorry, guys. 1 second. We're almost there. There's a file that I uploaded earlier, but accidentally overwrote, and I'm just re-uploading the clean version that is usable. Save as.
Is the animation started yet? No.
Yeah. It's so there's I have a blend file. I'm actually blind right now. There's a blend file like on my desktop, and I can't.
Okay, I'm I'm gonna use the bathroom quick.
Yeah. You're fine. Let me save as mysterious protagonist. Blend. Save as. Are we there? Great. Jesus. All right. That was weird. Then I should be able to upload both of these. And nice. Delete that guy. Great. Okay. All right. I have uploaded the blend files to Google Drive, and I can share this now. Copy link. Anyone with a link, so commenter. Okay. All right. I'll drop this into call this files. Okay. All right. I'm glad we did this little extended rest. I was tired after the last one. If you guys are present, here I'll also just drop it in the announcement. Command. There we go. Okay. All right. Yep, we're about to do animation. Let me pull this up. Still recording. Great. Good stuff. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Go. Okay. All right. An introduction to 3D animation by yours truly on behalf of Develop HQ. 3D animation. It's going to be an adventure. We're going to cover the process. We're going to work our way up to a Walkcycle on a rig that's already been like made for us, and then we're going to work on actually learning some of the procedural animation techniques, which is a copy paste from a lecture that I gave at UF some time ago, but I think it's a very good one, and I think it's important content for anyone that's getting into animation, because the world of animation has gradually become less artistic and more computational in nature. Not to, not at the loss of like anyone. It's just like modern animation techniques in video games are very complex, and it's not this hand animation thing anymore. But we're going to start with hand animation so that we can, have the skills we need to be performant at a game jam, because that's what this is all about. You're here because war. We're going to war. Yeah. You've already seen these slides, just reusing them, but preparing for war. That's why we're here today. So 3D animation. Is everyone back? Is the guy that went to cook the rice back? I don't want to. We have limited viewership. I don't want to.
I'm here.
Everyone's here. All right. Sick.
Yep.
Sick. Cool. Okay, guys. 3D animation. Let's get started. So we're gonna start with Blender. It's the same stuff that we just went over. I'm literally about to rerun through R, G, and S. For the sake of the recording, I'm going to say it all again, but I'm gonna move through as quickly because I know you guys, you just mess around with Blender. But middle mouse button rotates the view. Middle mouse button and scroll, or you hold Control and you drag the middle mouse button, lets you zoom in and out. Shift middle mouse button lets you pan the view around. We're gonna use Blender as our animation software, but these days you can also animate in Unreal Engine. I'll just say that. But yeah. Grab, rotate, scale, GRS, universal keybinds. They're everywhere in Blender. They're very useful. XYZ constrains an operation to an axis. So here you can see me scaling on the Z-axis, scaling, rotating on the X-axis. Something that I didn't actually mention on the last PowerPoint, but it was on there. Do you guys see this bottom bar down here? This is synced up with the GIF, and it's on the bottom of your Blender. Whenever you do something in Blender, the bottom bar, there's like this little flat bar at the bottom of the interface, shows all of the available keybinds that adjust an operation. It's really useful. It changes based on what you're hovering over, and sometimes you'll be in the middle of like an inset, and you're like, oh, I wonder what other cool tools and options there are. If you press like I, this will turn into like a big, guide for what you can press to modify insets. So it'll be like, oh, press I again to make it individual things. Press C to toggle constraint. Press B to do like all the different operations have a lot of other hidden keybinds that they don't, tell you about, but they're just sitting at the bottom of your screen waiting to be discovered. All right. Yeah, Control Z is your friend. Shift C centers your view. That's it. It's the core stuff, the core things about Blender. Very important. It's very important that you get comfortable with middle mouse button. Yeah. So animation vocabulary. This is where the animation part starts. So there's some words that I'm going to be using interchangeably, and it's very important that we all get familiar with what they mean. When I say mesh, skeletal mesh, geometry, skin, I'm going to be referring to the surface of our character. This is the skin of the character, right? Animation revolves around geometry and the bones underneath. There's 2 layers to every like animated object. I don't care if it's a helicopter. I don't care if it's a humanoid. There's the skin, the skeletal mesh, whatever you want to call it, which is just, it's a mesh. It's made up of geometry, and it is parented. It is the child of. It is driven by. It is skinned to the skeleton, and the skeleton can be called the skeleton, the armature. You'll see it called the rig. You'll see it called bones. And it's the underlying skeleton that drives the movement of the skin and skeletal mesh. So there's the reason for this is, it's a significant optimization, right? Imagine if you wanted to send data about a character that has 40,000 polygons to a game engine. It's a lot faster to just send the data about a bunch of bones and then keep track of the associations between polygons and bones. So bones are just there to like drive the points around on the skin. The bones are there to like give you an easy tool to manipulate otherwise complex geometry. Not all bones deform the mesh. We'll get into that in a bit. There's some that help us control other bones. There's like imagine someone's kneecap. There will be like a floating point in front of the kneecap that'll technically be a bone, but it's really just there to help you like control what the knee might be pointed to. And bones are a hierarchy. So let's look at this again. Skeletal mesh is the skin that's parented to the skeleton. Skeleton, the bones that abstract the movement out from thousands of vertices to just hundreds or even tens of bones. Bones are a giant tree data structure. They're a hierarchy. And there's bones that deform and bones that don't deform. The bones that deform are the ones that like kind of live inside of the character. Bones that don't deform are like invisible tools to help the artist, the animator, move our mesh around. There's always a root bone. Usually it's like the pelvis for humanoids. There might also be a root bone for a gun. A gun might be rigged, and the charging handle is a bone, and the magazine might be a bone, and there might be a bone on the bolt, and depending on how detailed your gun is and how carefully you're going to animate it. But any moving part, essentially, any moving part. Here's an example of a skeleton in Unreal Engine. You can see how things are named. Bones are often given endings like _L or _R, and this is a common practice. It's important. Some algorithms specifically work on bone names, and they look for these L's and R's to denote left or right. Blender certainly makes use of that for quickly copy pasting or mirroring half of your rig to the other side when you're working with like a skeleton that's symmetrical, like a character model. All right. Without further ado, let's like get into the meat and potatoes today. So I've gotten a Blender model for everybody. We're calling him Manifold Man because he's manifold. He wasn't. I had to clean him up a little bit. Um, yeah, it's it's a .blend file, and you'll find it in Google Drive. Let's go ahead and download it. I just dropped the announcement in the High Command channel. It's also in the Intro to 3D Animations with Blender forum post right here. Right here, or right here. Click Files, and you should be able to see there's two blend files. Download Mysterious Protagonist.blend. That's the one that I just set up. I'll go ahead and download it as well. Crack it open. And you should find yourself staring at a screen that looks something like this. It's our mysterious protagonist, Manifold Man. Let me know when you guys get here. But I will continue with the PowerPoint. We're not going to go hands-on just yet. I just want to make sure you guys can see it. So I'll wait for a few seconds here.
And I just opened it and all I see is a cube.
I'm sorry, say again?
I just opened it and all I see is a cube.
You're really quiet. You're really, really quiet. I'm so sorry.
Oh. Better now?
Barely. I used to have you at like 150% because you were quiet in the past, but now you're like dead quiet at 200.
Hold on.
It sounds like your mic is kind of far away or crunchy or something.
No, it's right up to my face. Hold on.
Happens to the best of us. Happens to the best of us.
This happens sometimes. Better now?
No difference. It's what did you say? I can at least hear you now. So what did you say? Whoa, great heavens. Yeah, that's significantly louder.
Yeah. Switch to my other microphone.
Right. What was your question?
I opened it and all I see is the default cube.
That can't be right. Is that true for anyone else? Just want to make sure.
It opened up the same as yours.
Hold on.
Did you open up the right file?
I downloaded hold on. I downloaded Mysterious Protagonist.
.blend.
Just
You
1 second.
Either double click it or like right click it and do open with Blender.
Let me just close Blender entirely and then try to do it. Yeah, it just shows up as the default cube. Could it have to do with me being on an older version?
Are you on an older version?
I am, because I've had Blender on my computer for a while.
You should probably update then. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm sorry. I have no idea. Honestly, it could be related to being on an older version. If it's that older of a version, it's definitely that. Are you the gentleman that has the 3ds Max style, like the alternate color theme?
No, I'm a different person.
Okay.
I think.
Gotcha.
I'm on 2.93.
Just grab
So
the latest version. Grab the latest version.
Yeah, I will.
Like 3.6. 2.93 is a good like year and a half, maybe.
Should have done that before. Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay. It's all right. Anyways, for now, I'm gonna go back to the PowerPoint. It's not. Don't worry, you're not missing out on anything. All I was gonna do was kind of break down how the animation works. So the first thing that we are going to do actually while we're in this file, okay, maybe I will wait for you for a second. For everyone else that's on the blend file, because this PowerPoint has less content. We're gonna finish earlier. I think it's more live content and like fooling around than the 3D modeling content. There's less intricacy to it. What we are gonna do is while you're in object mode, select the rig, not the mesh, right? If you go top right in this like area, you can select the mesh or the rig. Click the rig, and then in the properties panel, which is that bottom right panel that has all those little colored tabs on the left side, you're gonna click on the one that has like a running stickman, and you're gonna scroll down to where it says viewport display, and you're gonna check the box that says in front. And now you can actually see the skeleton through the character. So that gives you X-ray vision. It's not on by default across Blender, and it should be. So yeah, I just thought you should know. Just thought you should know. Okay. Once we're here, I'll wait for a little bit, so it's all good. But if you are here, the next thing that we're gonna do is go into pose mode, and with the armature selected. So where there's edit mode, there's also pose mode. It's in the same little bar, and this is how you actually, like, you know, pose your character skeleton. You rotate different parts of his body and all that. So that's what we were gonna do next. I'm actually going to like let everybody take some time and just put him in a funny pose. That's your job. I'm gonna put like a 10-minute timer on. I want you guys to go into pose mode, right? So you select the rig, pose mode. You should see the rig in X-ray vision. It's gonna be very hard to do this if you can't. And you're going to position him in some funny way. Drop a screenshot as well. But yeah, I'll set a timer. I'll also do something funny. Were you able to grab an updated version of Blender? Prez? Was that Prez? Salmon? Is it? Sorry, I don't have like the voices figured out yet.
Yeah, it just finished installing.
Nice, nice.
We're gonna see if it works now.
Great. Good stuff. I'm gonna turn down the GUI scale since.
There we go.
Nice.
Now. All right.
Nice. So
perfect.
The one thing that you missed on, just go to select the rig from the top right, the little like inspector. This is called outliner. It's the list of all the objects in your world. Select the rig, not Manifold Man, and then the properties window on the right. Scroll click on the tab, the little green running stick figure guy tab. It's
yeah, I've got it. I have it open.
And check in
front.
And
then check in front.
Yeah, and that'll let you see your skeleton. And then with the skeleton selected, go into pose mode. It's under edit mode in the same little drop down as edit mode and object mode.
Okay, pose.
And now you can just grab different bones and put them in funny positions. So I'm gonna, take some time to get familiar with this, and we're gonna try to put him in like give him a funny pose. Lots of RZ, RX. You might also find it easier. I noticed Chase was doing this, and you guys might find this significantly easier. Top right of your viewport. I really should have. This is actually what you've done, Chase, is very good. Top right of your viewport. There's 4 little circles. Right. Look at my screen real quick. To the left of those, there's show overlays and show gizmo. Click the drop down under show gizmo and you can check rotate. Check the rotate gizmo. And then you'll be able to actually like you get this really pretty ball that lets you easily adjust the rotation of things. For those of you that are not yet comfortable doing RX, RY, RZ, that might be easier. Also, apologize about his fingers. Manifold Man was in a really terrible accident. Don't ask. There's nothing I could have done to save them. He lost his middle finger, so you just it's now we're like family friendly obligatorily. You can't have him flick anyone off. So yeah, can't make any inappropriate gestures without a middle finger. Salmon, I'm gonna. You got some background noise. It's not a big deal actually. But yeah, cool. Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking of what I'm gonna do with this guy. Manifold man. Kind of want him to.
Posing in real life to try and figure out what could be better.
yeah, you're gonna find yourself doing that later when we get to Walkcycles. It's funny, 3D modeling I would consider generally to be more artistic and less technical than like rigging or animation, but for today's purposes, like this is going to be an artsier little presentation than 3D modeling was.
Nice.
So yeah. He's cracking his back.
What's going on with you? Oh, nice.
He's cracking his back. I don't know. He's a tired old man.
He just got like.
Oh god, he's a little
back.
He's a little deformed. Yeah, he's I don't know. Manifold man is he won't be manifold for long. We're absolutely folding Manifold man.
I guess I should at least show what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, please. Let's see what other people are. Okay, all right, we got like a stealth crouch kind of vibe. I like it. Pretty good. What else we got? Chase with Michael Jackson. Love it. Salmon with he's doing a split or something. In general, you guys are doing really well.
Yeah, I'm just fucking around with it.
Yeah. Oh, that's fair.
I tried my best.
Okay. I'm gonna give us another minute here, and then we'll go back.
How do I reset?
Reset him. Select. So press A. Select all while you're in pose mode, and then press F3. I should have told you guys about F3. F3, and then search clear transform, and you're gonna find like clear all.
Okay, all.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
F3 in
Right,
Blender
thanks.
is like the universal search. You can use it to do almost anything in Blender. Some people use that a
Nice.
lot, but yeah. So if you ever know what you need to do in Blender terms, but can't find the button for it, but you know the words, like if you've got your vocab right, it becomes very easy.
All right.
Okay, all right.
I'll keep that in mind.
I'm impressed with everyone's poses. Honestly, like, not bad, you guys. Not bad. Yeah, this is what I did during when I was making this PowerPoint. I got him into this like funny Ministry of Silly Walks, like zombie kind of look. Yeah. um, Poses, part of the animation process. Often, people that take animation classes, if you take any in college, you're gonna hear something like, "Oh, do the main poses first, and then add the details in between." And when they tell you that, what they're saying is like,
Yeah.
you know, if you're doing like a walk cycle or something, find the like 3 or 4 main positions that the person is going to be in across your goal animation, and then figure out those poses, put them down, and then fix the in between stages, you know, add more detail. So what does in between even mean in this case? What does it mean when you add multiple poses? How do you actually make an animation, not just a sculpture? Keyframes. So keyframes are just data, just purely just data at a point in time. The reason I say data and not just like the position of your skeleton is because it really can be used to do so much more, even independently of skeletons in Blender. So in Blender, if you hover over almost any text box and press I, you can keyframe the data in that text box. Like we can literally keyframe this, yeah, there. We can change we can change the bones to display as octahedral on frame 0, and then display as B bones on frame 88. And if I just like let this animation run, frame 88, there it goes, B bones. You can keyframe anything in Blender. It's ridiculous. I'll delete those keyframes. So that's the point that I'm kind of making here when I say that it's just data at a point in time. The thing is, we want to interpolate. So what is interpolation? Interpolation is how you go from point A to point B. There's different types of interpolation. There's linear, right? So if at point A we have a value of 5 and at point B we have a value of 10, it might go, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 over the course of 5 seconds. But if you make it like cubic, it might start slow and then end slow, but go really fast in the middle, like a little fast kind of curve, a sigmoid. There's different types of interpolation. Quintic, there's just a million different types of interpolation. We're going to, I'll show you how you set those up. It's very easy. Yeah, the other thing that you should know is when we're keyframing, so we're going to be, what we're going to do is we're going to pretty much just make a sequence of poses, and then we're going to fix the interpolation between them. You should not keyframe more than what you need. Generally good practice. So if you move a leg, only key the rotation value of the bone. You don't need to keyframe the scale, right? The thigh didn't get any longer or fatter. You don't need the visual location rotation scale. You don't need the B-bone shape. This is for bendy bones. There's a lot here that you do not need. All you need is the rotation of the bone. If you do decide to key more than that, you'll have to clean it up later. Some people prefer to just click whole character every time that they like adjust something and then go in and clean everything up. That's a way to do things, but I think it's better to just only create keyframes for the things that you adjust. Anyways, that's all of this doesn't really mean much without actually showing you what I mean. But before I do, 2 more things. On the left and on the bottom of your interface, if you got my file in the way that I gave it to you and you haven't changed anything, you should have these 2 little like side interfaces here. This on the left is the graph editor, and this on the bottom is the action editor. I guess a point that I want to get across is that Blender's interface is extremely flexible, and you can change what any section of the interface is by changing the little top left icon. So see, this right here is the outliner. This top left icon, I can turn it into the 3D viewport. I can turn it into drivers. I can turn it into a spreadsheet. I can turn it into the properties panel, and now I have a second properties panel. So Blender's viewport is really, really flexible. These are all the different types of viewports, I guess, that you can fill a different section of the screen with. But this over here is the got graph editor, and this over here is the dope sheet set to action editor. So I'll explain exactly what those do in a second. The dope sheet is very unimportant. It's just there to save action. So when you're making a character for a game, you save their different animations as actions. So like a walk cycle might be an action. A run cycle is another action. A swing, if they have like a baseball bat or something, or like a melee attack is an action. Maybe shoot once if they're holding like a gun, that's an action. These are all different actions, and you set them up here in the action editor before you export. And then you're able to export all of this data. Okay, all right, so let's actually do a walk cycle. So I'm going to try to demonstrate how you keyframe a walk cycle. I'm gonna intentionally do a pretty bad job, and then I'm gonna leave you guys about like 20 minutes to try to do your own walk cycle. And then we're gonna spend the rest of the lecture cleaning up the walk cycle. Because cleanup is, we're gonna have a really rough product to begin with. Don't get discouraged. Walk cycles do take time. Run cycles take time. Any animation is a very high effort and like long process if you want to do it at high quality. Yeah, I really can't emphasize that enough. I think one of the biggest things I struggle with in game development is having unrealistic expectations of myself. I know we were talking about that before we started this presentation. And I will sit there and be like, Jesus Christ, I just spent an hour and a half trying to get my character to walk. And it's frustrating, but that's just the reality. And yes, it's a solved problem. Yes, there's walk cycles online that you can download and retarget. We'll talk about what retargeting is later on. We're gonna gloss over that. To your skeleton, so you can download an animation and use it on your skeleton. But like, if you want to do things yourself, it does take time. Even if you're a professional animator. I'm gonna derail real quick here. One of my favorite animators is this guy right here. It's called Hyper, and he used to make really popular memes online where he would make funny animations of common weapons in like CSGO or something. Not CSGO, these were like insurgency animations. Here's his revolver reload. Guy like vomits out the bullets and then more bullets, and just, I don't know. This guy would make these animations for fun on YouTube. That was his thing. He's awesome. He is a former animator at Respawn Entertainment and is now an animator at Infinity Ward. This guy made half of the animations from Titanfall for the guns. Half of them. The other half were done by someone else. So he's like really skilled. And he has a video here somewhere, I don't remember where he teaches you how to animate in Blender. And it's like, there's a part 1, which is just rigging the weapon, and it's 30 minutes of him glossing over things really fast that took him like 3 hours to set up. Part 2 is like fast forwarded, super fast animation of shooting like 1 round, and it takes him like 40 minutes at 2x speed. Like, and then his reload animation, yeah, another 50-minute tutorial about making the reload look right. Like, it's not easy. So just, I really want to emphasize that. He also makes fun of Blender. This is one of his funnier videos. Anyways, okay, focused. So I'm going to demonstrate a walk cycle real quick. So here's our character, right? I'm going to select the armature. I'm going to go into pose mode, and I am going to go ahead and start by I don't know. I guess I'll get it to right when like the right foot is planted. So I'm gonna just move the right foot forward. Maybe move both of the legs kind of like this, so that they're, maybe he's got some like swing in his step. And generally people move their chest a little bit forward as well, like that. And this foot should be somewhere in the middle. It's really good to use a reference. I'm not using a reference right now. Terrible of me. I know. I'll put that there. And these also are, I think, a little bit ooh, can we do yeah, I don't know. Okay, I like how that is. And okay, yeah, this is good. People also move their arms forward. So I'm gonna just do this and this And I'm going to pull this arm in as well. And the head should probably continue facing forward. Whoop. There we go. Okay. Maybe a little bit more bent. Okay. Gonna select everything, which is what I told you not to do, but I'm gonna clean it up later, and it gives us more stuff to clean up. And I'm gonna do eye, whole character, and what this has just done is it has created a keyframe for every single bone for the entire character. And, you know, some of those bones didn't move, right? Like, we only rotated a couple of these, like, lower chest bones. These shoulder bones haven't moved. Nothing has changed there. So, all we've done is create a keyframe for every piece of the body. It's very important now. The next step, I'm going to move this timer forward. You will forget to do this, inevitably. You're going to be here, and you're going to be like, oh, okay, I'm done with my second pose. And you're gonna press I, and you're gonna save the whole character. And this God, what is this called? This cursor, I guess, is like time, what time we're at. Where you're still gonna be on frame 0, and you're just gonna overwrite your previous pose, and you're gonna sit there crying because you'll not notice, and then you're gonna do another 25 things, and Control Z won't be able to save you anymore, and it's bad. So don't do that. Please pay attention to this. Whenever you're done, move this first. And then you start positioning things. Because say you position a bunch of stuff in the way that you want it to. You're like, oh, okay, your next leg, arm back, you know, arm forward, chest. And then you're going to be like, oh, wait, I'm still on frame 0. Oops, let me move this. He's gone. He's gone. He went back to his original state because he went back to what the original keyframes like had going for them. He reverted to this state. So you need to be cautious of that. Now Control Z I think will save you, but if you don't notice or you don't know what you're doing, you might make it to the last pose, hit I one last time, and then realize that all you've been doing is overwriting keyframe 0. Okay. Frame 20. This is a really exaggerated position that he's in. I'm going to undo that and just gonna frame 20. I'm gonna plant his foot down. Doesn't really matter what frame that you're at, by the way. We can always adjust the spacing between these poses, but let's rotate the hips a little bit like so, and let's plant the foot. I guess it does help to have a plane, so I'm just going to go into object mode and add a plane real quick. There we go, we can see him there. You'll notice that there's a shadow right now, and that wasn't there before. I turned that on for everybody. It's a setting that's up here. So yeah, we'll plant this foot. Pose mode, RX. This foot generally seems a little slanted to me. Maybe we'll move him down a little bit as well. It feels like he wasn't really quite there. And I will save the location of the root bone there. So yeah, there we go. Let's see. This bone, its keyframe. Yeah, we'll fix that afterwards. We'll fix that afterwards. Okay. So you see, this is a tedious process. I just wanted to demonstrate it first for everybody before I let you guys loose. But this is taking me a second. So bone here, maybe a little more up like that so that his foot isn't inside of the floor too much. But I'm struggling to avoid that right now. And then maybe, you know, shoulders start swinging back. Maybe arm is all the way back. Maybe yeah, I don't know. I'll and we'll move this foot back and kind of like that. Oof. Oh, he is fast walking. This is a fast walk. All right, whole character. Cool. Ooh. And then maybe on frame 40, we can pull this foot back. Rotate the hips forward like that. Ooh, a little too much. Why are these both completely off? Ooh, there we go. Like that. R. Man, this is a fast walk. RX. He is leaning forward. Absolutely leaning forward. And then maybe this foot can come up like this. Nice. And then chest can rotate all the way. And this arm is swinging forward. This is almost a run cycle at this point. This arm swings back. Great. Select all, eye, whole character, and then we'll plant this foot, and like that, and then I guess this foot starts coming forward as he pulls back. And arms are becoming neutral, and maybe this arm is coming forward again. It's gonna be terrible, but we'll see how this looks. Oh, I made the mistake. I made the mistake. I didn't move it forward. I didn't move it forward. I was about to overwrite it. Oh, and there's nothing I can. Okay, hold on. I don't think there's anything I can do here, because if I move this forward, yeah, he resets. But then what? Can I? Oh, can I control Z? See, I just can't move forward without resetting his pose. Oh god. What I could do is move the keyframes away. Oh my god. There's no way. Yeah, I don't think there's. I just have to do that again. All that work of the last like 20 seconds lost. Great. Put that here. Put that here. Put that here. Can you tell that I'm not formally trained? You know, whatever, swing those a little bit, swing in the hips, put that there, fix the torso, coming back, and we can start clearing the transform of some of these bits if we want to reset them to a neutral pose. You can just do clear transform, and I just keep hitting F3 and clicking on it, because it shows me the last thing that I looked up. So the arms are back in their neutral position, just pull them in a little bit. And now I can keyframe the whole character. And now, okay, all right, here's our walk cycle. Nice, great, perfect. I mean, that's flawless. If that's not what a human looks like, I don't know what is. But what we can do now is we can copy all of these first frames here. I just used the circle select brush. You guys remember that from the last lecture, it's C, but I think you can also just alt-click them, and it selects all of them in a row, kind of like how loops work. And then drag those back to the front, and it should just loop. It should just loop. So if we, the last thing that I'm going to do here, right? So we've, all I've done is I've created a bunch of keyframes. Now I'm going to go into my rendering panel. This is right here under properties. I'm actually going to go to output properties and turn up the frame rate to 60 FPS. And I'm going to set the end frame to frame, what is this? 70, 75? 75. Because just arbitrarily. Let's see how this looks. Yeah, he's walking all right. Okay.
He really likes looking to his left.
He sure does. It's your guys' turn. I want you guys to do what I just did. Just series of poses, keyframe, do a really crappy walk cycle. It can be as bad as this. It can be worse. I don't care. It's up to you. I'm going to give you until 6:15. That took me around 10 minutes, I think.
How did you copy it? The beginning parts to the end part.
I used Shift D, the duplicate keybind. It's the same one.
How do you play the animation? I didn't catch that.
I'm so sorry. It's spacebar. There's also a play button somewhere. Damn, it's nowhere to be found. It's spacebar. I'm so sorry. Spacebar. Spacebar is the play animation button. But you can also just, drag this back and forth. I'm sorry. I did gloss over a thing or two there. Yeah. Yeah, give it a go. I'll be watching you guys. I'm so- I just looked at Chase's screen.
Just need to give him a little more life.
Yeah. Oh my god. Oh, you've been following along really nicely, dude. Well done. Prez with the wide stride. You love to see it. What are you trying to do, Prez? Doesn't matter. All good. I'll be observing. I'm gonna fix the hip bone issues that I was having. The other thing, I know the interface is a little claustrophobic, and if you're trying to split screen me and the interface, it's kind of a challenge. You should know that if you hold down Control and middle mouse button, you push it down while you're in the graph editor or in the dope sheet, you can drag your mouse left and right, and it scales your view on the x-axis, and you can drag it up and down to scale your view on the y-axis. Like if you guys look at my screen, that's how I'm doing what I'm doing right now. I just Control, and then with mouse button held down, you can scale it on different axes beyond just zooming in and stuff. Makes it a little bit easier to navigate a lot of data.
Yes. How do I get it to loop? Again. Oh.
How do you get it to loop?
Yeah.
So the next thing to do, go to the output properties. It's like the third tab down on the properties panel on the right. It's under the little camera looking icon. It looks like a printer printing out a photo. And then under frame range, you set this end frame to 70 to whatever your last frame was that you have a keyframe on. And you can change the frame rate as well to like 60 FPS, probably. Whatever seems right. Gonna go ahead and figure it out.
This is the most intense core workout. Oh my goodness gracious. That needs to be rotated better.
Don't worry, we're gonna make this look a lot better in the cleanup phase. This is just the, make everything look like it's at least moving.
How do I edit a keyframe once I've made it?
Well, you can overwrite it. So remember, whenever you key a whole character, you're generating keyframes for numerous properties of numerous
Okay.
bones. So what do you want to overwrite? If you want to overwrite, say, like the thigh, you would select that thigh and just write a keyframe at that, like adjust its position and rewrite the keyframe and do whatever.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? Now, if you want to,
Oh,
if you want to very manually adjust it, take a look at my screen. We're gonna do this in a second, but I'll give you a little head start. Take a look at my screen. Here's this thigh, right? Say I want to adjust how much it's going forward. I can click this drop down on the left in the graph editor, and I can see what all these different curves represent. Like they present the location, the rotation, the scale. I know we don't need the scale, so I can delete those. But what I can do is I can say like, oh, here's this curve. Let me just lower this down. And I'm lowering down, each of these black points is essentially a keyframe, and this curve is the interpolation between them. So I can be like, oh, you know, it looks better around here. And just sort of experiment. Make sense?
yeah. I think I got it. I figured it out.
Nice, nice,
I think.
nice.
Think. Think.
My character has such a funny walk. I'll give us until 6:15. Just mess around, get the basics down. Generally, the last thing that you want to do in a walk cycle is duplicate the first frames that you made to the end of your animation, and that's how you know that it's going to line up. Does that make sense? Like whatever pose they started in, they should finish in. So you can select the line of first keyframes by just alt-clicking the little dots in the action editor dope sheet, and just duplicate them by doing Shift D and dragging them over. The joys of animation. This is, I will say, you guys can tell how time consuming and you know, almost challenging this process can be. With this in mind, for your first game jam, if it is going to be your first game jam, you're gonna want to kind of pick things that don't require you to make your own humanoid character. You're more than welcome to download a character off the internet. That's like, you know, that's fair game. You just have to, you know, declare that you did. You won't be judged negatively on it. It's just like obviously you shouldn't be able to win like a art award for copying a character off the internet. But like that's still okay because, you know, no one has the time to make a character during a game jam. But I still think it's important to understand how this all works and try to, you know, try to learn some technique if you can.
There you go.
Alright. While you guys are messing around, what I've been doing is I've just been going through my animation and paying close attention to the feet and points that they are at in between, like other steps, and I'm just kind of just moving them so that and generating new keyframes to make sure that they look right. All right.
Oh no. I got something.
Don't worry if it doesn't look good. It's okay. We're gonna make things look a lot better in a second. Just you wait.
Okay, I can't seem to find the play button.
Spacebar. Just hit spacebar. There is a play button somewhere. I don't remember where, but spacebar is the universal like play key. You should just be able to hit it, and it should just do it.
I'm so used to using kinematics.
Kinematics? What do you mean by that?
Yeah. I used to rig it.
Okay, IK
okay.
targets. I see what
Yeah,
you're saying.
IK
Yeah.
targets.
I just wanted to make. I wasn't sure what. Okay, yeah, good. No, that's you should be used to using those. I'm making you guys do this with your like hands tied, just to sort of. Everyone that's struggling right now is like, you what? How could you? But no, it's. I think it's healthy to appreciate the difficulty of hand animating a walk cycle before you try to do things with IK targets and stuff. Yeah.
I do think there's a certain flair to doing it by hand.
Yeah.
Allows for more control.
That's what I think.
Oh, that's not bad.
This is quite the macho walk, I will say. Hmm.
Oh, whoever Preds is, I love your animation.
I'm sorry?
Very whoever Preds is, I'm looking at their screen share.
Oh.
I love the animation. It's like a very I don't know what to say. It's very like
Power walking.
power walking, yeah.
He's just like he's trying to make a statement.
Yeah. This is a person who knows
Oh,
where he's
that-
going, and he is not slowing down for anyone.
Oh, that's
That
so
is
good.
oh, that's nice. Yeah, that's pretty solid.
I love the head perfectly straight ahead with the rest of the body moving. Just you know how like there's like cats when you move them, their head will stay still because they're tracking their like that.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. You're doing
the
dude.
perfect hunter.
Prez, that's a really solid solid animation.
Thank you.
Seriously, well done.
Mm.
Okay, well, honestly, you guys are doing better than I could. I have a pretty garbo animation. I was gonna explain the cleanup process next. So, props on the Walkcycle, Prez especially. That's very solid. I don't know if you have like a little bit of animation background or if you've just done it recently or practiced it at all, but that was really good.
Thank you.
The process, right? So what have we been doing for the last roughly 15 minutes? We've been posing. You make a pose, you keyframe the rig, you move the timeline to the next position, you repeat. That's the entire animation process. We're going to talk about cleanup. Before we talk about cleanup, I'm going to go over another animation concept or two that's just kind of dry, and I need it to fit in. So here we go. Skinning, real quick, just so you guys can see what's happening behind the scenes. On the right is a mesh, and then there's a bone. This is how you parent a bone to a mesh, and what it does is it generates these like heat maps, which is it's just a 0 to 1 value for how much each vertex is associated with your bone. You can hand paint these heat maps by doing something called weight painting. We're not going to do that today, but if you ever have like a character and you set it up and all of a sudden like a part of your character that shouldn't be moving with their toe is moving, you know, like, I don't know, you give them like a hand and part of their earlobe decides to just follow the hand for some reason. You have to go in and fix that up manually. Sometimes that happens, but usually the algorithm that just sort of figures it out is good enough, usually. Anyways, that's skinning. Skeletal animation, yup, keyframe, pose, adjust. Interpolation, this is what I meant when I said interpolation. Here we see two keyframes for a single value, the z quaternion value, but between them, it can be a line, it can be cubic, quadratic. We've got this like handle here where the curve goes, you know, beyond the point of the second keyframe. It goes to a higher value. And it lets you add character in general. You can create this like, you know, bounce. What I'm going to do now is explain the cleanup process. So on the left, we have a leg, and that's a single leg doing a walk cycle, right? On the right, that's the graph editor. There's a problem here. This animation is bad. You really don't have to see it just in the leg to see that it's a little bit wonky, but you can tell just from the leg that it's a little wonky. Something feels a little bit off. Towards the end of the animation, it kind of just abruptly stops, right? Stop, go. It goes like, you know, stop, go, stop, go. Like it really pauses at the bottom. There's some issues here. So what's wrong? There's a few keyframes here. There's a few keyframes here that are wasted. These points right here, someone's unmuted right now. It's okay. I mean, it's fine, but there's a few like funny human sounds coming through. We got keyframes here that are adding nothing, right? This curve, even if I deleted these black points, would have still followed the same path. This keyframe doesn't add anything. This keyframe doesn't add anything. So what you can do is you can go in and you can delete these points And now we have these like much cleaner kind of waves. Already, this animation is a little bit smoother. You can't tell, but it very subtly smoother, because now those black lines in the middle, or black points in the middle that were slightly, changing the smoothness of these curves, have been removed, and it's cleaner. Here's something else that's a problem. Here's the start of our animation. Here's the end of the animation, right? When it loops back, it goes flat here. The tangent line of the curve is completely flat at the start and at the end. But you can kind of tell that this is supposed to be like a sine wave, right? I mean, like it's not continuous at the end. So what you can do is you can make it sharp at the end. You can make it so that right at the end, it doesn't slow down before reaching the end of the animation. It doesn't slow down at the start of the animation. You can make it just go clean through linearly. So see how over here it's sharp? It just goes right into it sharply. And optimally, you have it aligned so that this curve exits the animation at roughly the same angle that it enters the animation at, right? This line right here versus like this line right here. So that's another cleanup process. So what have we done so far? We've removed unnecessary keyframes. We've made the curves continuous at the end and beginning of the animation. And the third thing is you can look for curves that are completely useless. For example, this green line right here represents the Y location of our leg. For some reason, the Y-axis was involved when this leg is only moving in a two-dimensional plane. Like we're only trying to move it. You can see the green line in the background there. There's no reason for this leg to have any Y movement. So you can just delete entire lines that are irrelevant to your animation. Like maybe your character's legs have a little bit of side to side, like human legs do that. But there's going to be situations where you're like, oh, I accidentally keyframed an entire axis that's not relevant. And it'll have some like weird bounciness in it because of, I don't know, you might have accidentally moved the leg a little bit while you were animating. You just go in, find those curves and delete them, and it cleans things up quite a bit. It also removes like movement that you didn't want. So yeah, remove useless keys, remove useless curves, make repeating motions continuous at the bounds of the animation, and tweak the curves. But above all, use a reference. If you use a reference, you're gonna have a much easier time. Believe me, this Walkcycle today would have felt a lot easier if we had used a reference. So I'm going to give us another 625. Let's go ahead and beeline through the rest of this PowerPoint. It's going to go into details about procedural animation, which is more interesting, and I'm just going to gloss over the concepts so you guys can be aware of the modern landscape of animating. I'm not gonna go into. We'll have free time at the end to like mess around and clean up our animations. Okay, so if I can get your attention for a bit more, rather than taking a break here and like applying those techniques, we'll do them at the end. So constraints, this is very important. When we cover rigging in 2 weeks, we're gonna cover constraints. And constraints let us set up, remember earlier when I said some bones deform and some bones don't? The ones that don't deform, usually the ones that do are constrained so that they do something relative to the ones that don't. For instance, you can say that the knee should follow the knee target bone, and the knee target bone is just floating in front of the knee. And it makes it easier to animate the entire leg because you just animate the target and the leg is constrained to follow the target. Constraints are really relevant when you're doing mechanical rigging. These are two of my favorite video game characters, Peabody and Atlas from Portal 2. They have gorgeous skeletons, entirely composed of mechanical parts. And these mechanical parts, they don't bend, they're not made of flesh. Instead, it's a bunch of like cylinders that have constraints set up in such a way that they stay locked within each other. So whenever you're doing mechanical joints, you just set up a bunch of constraints for the different pieces of the joints, and everything is automatically like animated for you, right? You just move a couple of targets around, and the robotic arm 3D model will do its thing to make sure that it fits that. This is the biggest thing by far, something called inverse kinematics. So what we were just doing for half an hour was called forward kinematics. This is when the artist, us, the technical artist, the whatever, the user, sets positions or rotations or location, scale, whatever, for a bone. that is the forward kinematics process. The inverse kinematics process is when the positions are solved backwards. So they're solved relative to something else that we define. So we do forward kinematics for some sort of invisible target, and the entire arm is solved using inverse kinematics to follow that target. These are like vocabulary words. I don't feel like I have a deep enough understanding to give you like a really precise explanation of why they're called that. I'm sure there's some historical relevance, like when these concepts were first being invented, that, you know, forward kinematics and inverse kinematics was strictly defined. But it is important to understand. Forward kinematics is our part of the problem. Inverse kinematics is the computer figuring out how to solve around our work. So here, IK can also just be used to more loosely refer to CCDIK. CCDIK, cyclic coordinate descent inverse kinematics, is a very famous just like solver that solves for chains of bones. Here, a chain of bones is like going from the shoulder to the upper arm to the forearm to the hand to the 3 joints on the finger. It solves that joint, those joints, in order to approach a target at the end of the chain. So that's a very popular form of IK. You can use that for feet. So instead of animating the entire foot, you just animate the heel and the knee bends automatically. Does that make sense, guys? You would just animate like the heel and it would figure out the thigh position, the shin position. These are also used to drive dynamic effects in games. When a character climbs stairs, it doesn't switch to like a pre-made stair climbing animation. That would be very inconsistent. Instead, it has like invisible laser pointers that are finding where the stair step is below the character and then setting the IK target to be right wherever the laser hits. I'm calling them laser pointers. It's firing ray casts. I'm just trying to use like, you know, chiller vocabulary. And yeah, it just positions the target on the stairwell and the leg is placed where it needs to go. It's not hand animated. So yeah, these are some other constraints. This is a curve constraint. This is a camera that is forced to adhere to a curve, and the camera is forced to look at the leg. Whatever, just an example of different constraints. So you can see how the camera's rotation is being driven by the leg, and its location is partially constrained to be within this circle. Cool. Another thing or two, shape keys and morph targets. I talked about these at the end of the 3D modeling presentation, very briefly. All that they are is like a collection of offsets that are saved per vertex. You can do some funky things with them. The main thing that they're used for in AAA titles is to drive like really subtle adjustments to muscles and tissue. Like when I rotate my head, my neck makes like parts of my jugular pop out and like some of these arteries and things look different. If I just told the computer to rotate my head, it wouldn't know how to set up, you know, some of that underlying anatomy. But you can make that anatomy show using shape keys. So this is something that artists use. They also often animate faces using shape keys. So a face might have a collection of shape keys that track the offsets for the eyebrows. So an eyebrow, it might be like an eyebrow up, eyebrow down, like eyelid left, eyelid right. And these are just different like offsets so that you can reshape the geometry using what's called a control rig. So these are actually all bones on the right, but the bones positions are tied to the shape key value, which is a 0 to 1 value for how active a shape key is. You can also do crazy animations with shape keys. This is an animation that's made entirely using shape keys. All of the geometry that you're seeing was there, but it was like scaled to impossibly small sizes, and it just kind of scales up out of thin air. So you could do these really cool kind of self-building effects. This animation particularly comes from a good friend of mine and UF student. Thad, but he's not here right now. I don't know how active he is these days, but good guy. Yeah, here's morph targets, shape keys. They're the same thing. Here's the example I was talking about. This is an Unreal Engine. You can see without the morph target, with the morph target, we see a little bit more definition. Just an interesting application. I won't even talk about drivers. It's not important. It's a Blender specific concept. Yeah, advanced rigging. If we were to actually do animations in a easier way, it would be with a complex rig like this. This all looks really complicated, but it's actually there to make the animator's job easier. You end up being left with like a single point that you can just grab and rotate that will drive the entire leg. And all you have to animate is that point's location and rotation. Like all you would do is animate the foot, and the rest of the leg would solve for that position. So very good thing to do. I will drop a link to this video down the line at some point. So a review. Another name for shape keys: morph targets, blend targets. An application of shape keys, you can use them to correct, right, the jugular, whatever, muscle deformation, manipulating complex geometry. I made a video game for a game jam about a year ago with William. He's in here right now, and another guy, Luke. And we had these candles that were bouncing around and they would melt. And their animation was driven by shape keys. When they melted, the candle wax would like ooze down and kind of turn into this puddle. And this effect was entirely just a shape key of how melted the candle is, because you start with just a really rigid cylinder, and then I would create another shape key of the final melted candle and just transition between those two. And all I did was sculpt it down into this like withered puddle. Constraints are rules that bind the motion of an object or a bone relative to some other object usually. Common constraints, the look at constraint, IK, CCDIK. CCDIK is really the constraint here. IK refers to any time that a constraint is used, because a constraint gives the computer a way to solve for something based on our inputs. But you'll see IK used to just describe CCDIK. But really, inverse kinematics is like the entire category of work that the computer is doing. And to clean up an animation, you delete irrelevant keys, and you make sure that looping animations have continuous curves at the boundaries. Where are we now? We're scratching the surface of technical art. Rigging is technical art. Animating is mostly art, but can be kind of technical sometimes. We know most of what there is to know about rigging now, but I want to go over a little bit about how animation data is stored. Earlier, we were inside of the action editor. I'm speed running because we got like 7 minutes before it's an hour and a half, and I don't want to go too long. You can make a character jump or walk or give them different actions. What you do is you make them in the action editor, and whenever you're done with an action, you click stash right here. It's in your Blender window, you guys, and this action will just be stored for the armature, and it lets you export them all together to Unreal Engine. When you're exporting from Unreal Engine, you're gonna have, or from Blender into Unreal Engine, Blender is gonna give you all these options right here. These are the options that you want to use, and you'll make a preset. The point is, add leaf bones is going to be checked. You're going to want to uncheck that. Leaf bones are like these weird bones that are added to the ends of your chains. So like imagine if every finger got an extra bone on its tip, every toe, your head had an extra bone at the tip. Like it's unnecessary, and it's not really relevant anymore. It was more necessary on older animation software. Animation data, right? In 3D Blender, we make the mesh, we do the animations, we make the skeleton, we import those into Unreal Engine. In Unreal Engine, it's called a skeletal mesh, skeleton. The actions in Blender are animation sequences in Unreal. And then over in Unreal, we use all these different animation tools to create these more complex effects, things like blend spaces, which let you smoothly go from a walk cycle to a run cycle, and then back to like standing still. There's all these different features. There's state machines. We'll show you that in a second. There's a lot of common animation challenges in the world of game development. On the left, you can see inverse kinematics being used for the stairs guy over here. So you can see his feet are actually just being dynamically placed on the staircase. On the bottom right, this is Uncharted. Insane animation techniques that were used here to dynamically animate characters inside of a like truck as it's moving around and hitting surfaces. Their bodies all shake around, but they don't clip the geometry. There's some really impressive work done there. There's like papers and like speeches that you can find on this stuff. Grand Theft Auto, whenever you approach like a stand, an ice cream stand or something, your character just kind of like zooms into it and starts animating a different animation. They don't have a good way to transition that. Now, machine learning is being used to create animation transitions. Vaulting in PUBG. I remember when vaulting was added. Very, very difficult to do. You got to have different objects that are different heights, and your character should be able to vault all of them. In PUBG, this is done using a single animation, but the sizes and like the scale of where the arms are placed is adjusted programmatically. So that would be something you would do in Unreal Engine. On the right, Crysis 3, or Crysis 2 actually. But you can see this is what it looks like in third person. So there's a big difference between first and third person animations in most video games. Very few games use the same model from your first person perspective to the third person perspective. And this is a sneak peek at what it looks like if you took the camera out of a character while they're in the first person mode and aiming over a ledge. Kind of hilarious. Challenging problems to solve. There's no single solution. No amount of mocap will magically fix these issues. No amount of hand animation. So the solution is code. Code that other people wrote, code that you can write. You can write code inside of Unreal Engine. But yeah, Houdini is used for a lot of this stuff. Houdini is incredibly powerful. That's why I'm kind of making fun of it over here. It's so, Houdini is insane. It's cracked. Houdini is insane. So this is what it looks like when you import something into Unreal. Unreal has these different nodes. We'll get into those maybe at some point, but I don't want to go into details today because we're not here to talk about the programmatic side of animation, and you won't use this in a game jam unless you're like really a god at animation and this is your career and you already know everything that we covered today. Like then maybe you could start looking at this stuff, but it's a lot harder to do. But you can see how this is a chain of bones that's on this guy's like ponytail, and in Unreal Engine you set up a simulation for those bones, and then those bones just act like they have physics. You can do things like that. You can make your character's arms, if they're a zombie, have like a target position, and it will simulate muscles that try to stay in that position, but then if you punch an arm, the arm will bounce out of the way and then try to return to its position as if there's muscle tissue pulling on it. So these are different things. This is an advanced locomotion system. It's an open source project in Unreal Engine, and you guys can go download it if you wanted to and see what it looks like when you want to create a extremely complex like animation system for a character model. This is like, you can see all the invisible debug traces that are being used here. We have like the center of the camera, the momentum of the character, where the feet are going to be placed, where the character is looking, and all of these things are intricately programmed to work with each other. There's very little being done in the way of hand animation. It is instead code that is figuring out how to position our character. But yeah, this is a blend space. When I talked about blend spaces earlier, the raptor over here on the left, I have a blend space in 2 axes that lets me adjust the direction that it's turning with just a very simple input on X and Y, and all of the bones that are associated with the different flaps and thrust vectoring adjust accordingly. You can do wiggle bones. I won't, there's a lot of applications for these. Wiggly parts of a character, hair, all sorts of things. State machines. So state machines we're starting to get into the gameplay programming side of things. When you make a character move around, based on the character's state, you can transition animations. So you can go from like falling to jumping to running to all these different situations. Unity has a almost identical system for state transitions. But yeah, okay, I had to speed run that. We did it, 1.5 hours flat, and that's the technical side of animation that I have to gloss over because it is extremely deep and it's a very diverse field. Unlike 3D modeling, where I feel like with 3D modeling you learn a tool and it's the same data everywhere, but with animation it's so much more intricately tied to how gameplay works that the solutions really vary depending on the game that you're making. And big AAA studios constantly innovate in this space and find new ways to solve their problems. So that's why I have to gloss over some of these concepts. Let's, if you want, we should spend the next few minutes trying to clean up the walk cycle. That's what I would do if I was you guys. Go find keyframes that are duplicate and do what I said about making things continuous at the edges. So you can, rotate these handles and make it so that at the edge of an animation, a curve doesn't magically snap back into some other state. Yeah, questions, comments, I don't know. I know it was a bit of a speed run towards the end there, but comms. The third person view of animation. Michael should reminded me of this. That's funny. Is that I wonder what game that is. I don't know what that is.
That's Dying Light, I believe.
Dying Light? Oh god.
They made the hands really small because like the first person perspective sees it normally, but like if you like made them like normal size, it'll be way too big.
I see. Cool. Yeah, that's the animation speed run. I hope you guys got something out of that. At the very least, I hope you got the experience like animating a walk cycle, because that's really all there is to it. That is the process for anything. Like that helicopter that you were working on, Chase, you would have a bone for the blades, and then in Unreal Engine or in whatever animation, final game, you would set that bone's rotation to be a function of your like throttle or whatever. And that's how you would do the helicopter blades. If that makes sense. I wouldn't even animate it in Blender, no keyframes, nothing. I would just go inside of Unreal and say, rotate this bone as a function of engine RPM.
I'll be back for the Unreal talk, but I gotta go.
All right, see you, Mike.
Yeah, so I'll be back around 7, I guess.
Does Unity have that function?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Godot, it's definitely every game engine has a way to directly tell bones what to do.
How do I make a bone?
So in Blender, in order to make a bone, I'll just make a new file here. Here's a cube, right? Here, I'll give this cube some propeller blades. One sec. Okay. Boom, 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 boom. Cool. Okay. So the way you make a bone, you do Shift A while you're in object mode. So it is a separate object. The rig is a separate object at first. And you do armature, and we've made a bone. We just can't see it because it's not being rendered in front, but it's selected right now. Go down here, viewport display in front. There it is. And then we have one bone for the cube, because the cube's just gonna be normal. And then we'll make another bone for the helicopter blades. I'll delete this bone and I'll make a separate one that's a little more, aligned with what forward means to us. Forward, by the way, is positive X. Treat positive X as your forward direction. If you're making a car, a character, whatever, positive X is considered best practice. And that's true for Unity as well. I know Unity has a different coordinate system, but it accounts for that when you export from Blender. Does
Godot.
Does Godot? What is Godot's coordinate system?
Godot's coordinate systems forward is negative z-axis.
Wow, negative is forward.
Unity is z forward, z positive.
See, z positive makes sense. Negative, that's just a middle finger to developers. Like, it's just like, screw you. We're gonna make it. You know what? I think, guys, genius new idea. I think the dot product of X, Y, and Z should be the forward vector. It should just be the diagonal going perfectly in between all the different.
I think the reason as to why they did it that way is like
crazy.
Usually when they teach like the different axes in math, they're usually talking about when they're talking about the z-axis, they're talking about it coming the positive z-axis coming out of the page.
Mm-hmm.
So I
That
think
makes sense.
that's why they did that.
That's a
did it that
right-handed
way.
system. Is Godot right-handed?
I'm not sure. Could be.
Do you, Chase? You wanted helicopter guidance, right?
Yes.
Okay. Get to this stage. Have two bones like this. One will represent.
The issue I was having is it spawned the bone wrong.
Shit.
Spawned the bone at the back. I don't know why.
Move it.
But I think I fixed it.
Put it where it needs to be.
I must have fixed it.
But get your bones so that you've got one pointing in the forward direction like this, and then make another bone. Part of the same object, by the way, so like you can duplicate a bone, Shift D to make like a separate unattached bone, or you can do Shift A.
I'll
and
make
like
sure it's centered. If I did not spawn it, how do I make sure it's centered? Because I'm not sure if mine is centered.
Center it when you spawn it. That's like the best way. Like it spawns wherever the cursor is. So put the cursor on some center piece and then figure it out from there. Like if I wanted to center something, I would maybe put the cursor on this front face with Shift S, cursor to selected, and then I would spawn an armature there, and it's guaranteed to be right at the center, assuming everything else is symmetrical. And then just be very precise about positioning it. Like, you know, constrain it to an axis. Don't just press G and move it around chaotically.
Right. So then make a second one, you said?
Yeah, duplicate the bone while you're in edit mode. So enter edit mode for the armature and duplicate it and align it with the helicopter blades. If you want to get the alignment right, you can do the same thing. You can put the cursor where you want the bone to be, and then you can go back to the armature, go into edit mode, and then do Shift A, and it'll spawn a new bone exactly where the cursor is. And
Okay.
yeah.
So does the size of it matter? Or
Not really, but just put it in the. Just make it like reasonable. Make it take up whatever space your like helicopter propeller shaft thing takes up. I think that would be wise.
all right.
Okay.
And I need a second one.
Man.
Oh boy. I've returned.
Welcome back, welcome back. I'm still recording for the animation lecture. I'm just gonna show the bone process here. Let me know when you're ready. Or, oh yes, here, I'm looking at your screen. Okay, yeah, good stuff. You've got 3 different armatures, but you can make them all be part of the same armature by selecting them all. And then doing Control
And
J.
then... Control what?
Control J to join, I think. Hover over the 3D viewport and do it. Try it there. Do Control J while you're hovered over the 3D viewport, not the outliner. Put your mouse to select them all.
Sorry.
That's okay. And then yes, put your mouse there and just Control J. Nothing.
Okay. It just worked, I think.
Oh yeah, there it goes. Yeah,
There.
nice. They're all part of the same object now. Good. Okay. Okay, nice. So now, in edit mode. Actually, sorry, never mind. Click the helicopter. Click the helicopter, and then click on the armature. Shift. Sorry. So first the helicopter, then the armature. Okay, and no. Using shift, not control. So click the helicopter, then shift click the armature. Notice how the armature is bright orange, so it's going to be the parent of whatever is going to be dark orange, which is in this case the helicopter. Now do control P, I think. Control P. And then with automatic weights. And now go into pose mode and I'll just mess around and you'll see what happens. Try rotating some of the bones. It's a start, right?
Thing.
So what this did is it automatically tried to fill in like what vertices
It's
occupy
an
each
organic
bone.
helicopter.
It's an organic helicopter. So now in order to fix this, go click the helicopter and just go into object mode. I'm sorry. Yeah. Click the okay. And then top left, go into weight painting mode, and you're gonna see what happened here. Okay, so object mode. Sorry, go from object mode.
Yeah.
Weight painting should be an option. Yeah, and you can see. So these are the weights for the different geometry, or the different bones. And on the right, you see where you're in vertex groups. You happen to be in the right thing right now. All the way on the right in the properties panel. There's bone 001, 002, all those little top right, up there. Yeah, those. Click each one. Click through them, and you can see how each bone is lit up. So what you can do to fix this more precisely than just drawing with a paintbrush is go into edit mode instead of weight painting mode, and we got to select exclusively what we want to be the propeller. So select the parts of the propeller that should rotate and nothing else. There's a quick way to do this. I'm going to give you a tip. Click that middle face on top. Circle select's good, but we can do better. And then do you have a number pad on your keyboard?
Yes.
Hold down Control and do numpad plus. And this is the expand selection button. Do it again. Is it a separate? Oh, it's a separate part. Perfect. No, never mind. That's so great. Okay, that's fine. It's a separate part. We could have done the L trick. Remember L to like select connected geometry because it's not connected to the main mesh. Yeah, nice. And then so it would have been really good if you named your bones. I don't know which bone is which, but if you think bone 002 is the one that's like supposed to be the propeller, all you have to do now is click assign on the bottom left there, where it says assign. And now you've assigned a weight of 1. See that weight slider on the bottom beneath assign? It's assigned a weight of 1. Now, while you're hovering over the 3D viewport, go do Control I, that's invert selection. It's going to select everything but what you have selected. And assign them a weight of 0. So slide the weight to 0, and then assign. And then
I get it.
What this has done is it's cleared the weight of that bone. Now repeat that process for the other props and the correct bone, right? So I think bone 002 was the right one, but we'll see what it is. If you don't know which is which, you can go into weight paint.
Just go back to weight mode.
Yeah, you can name them by double clicking them. So while you're there, you should be able to. There you go. You can call this tail rotor. So yeah, whatever. Okay, nice. See how that one's cleaned up now. Nice.
That is all right. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Oh, Unreal Engine starting soon. Oh my gosh, Brian. It's Brian himself. It's been a while. God. All right.